Hello, Rick here again with a part 2 to a video I did a while ago where we look at the various governments and species for Star Trek to see just what their specialities are as a technological power. Part 1 covered the Romulans, Starfleet, Klingons, Cardassians and some others, and then I asked viewers what you thought for a part 2, so this is that video, as well as some more observations and my own opinions. So, beginning with the Federation again, because as I said last part, they can pretty much do anything when given enough time, and even a taste of some other technology, because of the vast amount of data and resources they have at their cooperative disposal. But I would like to first up draw attention to holosuites. It was suggested in the comments that the Ferengi may have the best holosuites, but best is such a subjective term. Perhaps the Ferengi simply have the best programs and know how to market them better. Starfleet holodecks, after all, are incredibly powerful, in no small part due to the level of computing power that a Federation starship computer can handle. It literally made sentience by accident because Geordie said a wrong word. Now, does such a glaring security and morality-based issue mean that they have the best holosuites? Well, debatable, but the most powerful? Seems so. Although this is closely tied to the Federation's advancement with artificial intelligence. Soong was Federation citizen after all, but he made a concerted effort to keep his developments out of Starfleet's hands, and while the Federation was able to replicate the physical properties of a Soong android by the 2380s, the positronic brain on Data's level was still beyond them. Then there was the whole hiccup at the end of the 24th century that caused the ban on synthetic life forms, which nerfed the whole field of development. So Soong is a bit of an anomaly in this field. However, characters like Richard Daystrom and Louis Zimmerman advanced this field so much, and even besides the true AI, that a Federation's Starship's computer core is almost a sentient being in its own right. Almost. Sticking in the IT department now, several of you pointed out that while the Romulans would indeed be good at encryption, the actual best in the business at computing would be the aptly named Binars. This species actually graft their technology into themselves as part of their day-to-day life and literally speak computer coding. They are not part of the Federation, but Starfleet does outsource to them when it can, because quite simply, they are the best that the UFP can find. I'm going to shy away from the Borg because, like the Federation, they are jack of all trades, but masters of many. Anything they acquire, they adapt to service them, which means that they conquer thousands of species and take all their developments. Basically, where their specialty lies then is in their adaptation, a grim reflection of Starfleet. Borg tech is not only incredibly advanced, but easily compatible with other systems. Some would say eagerly compatible. Too eagerly compatible. For this reason, although many species, such as the Romulans and Federation, have standing orders to study Borg technology, it requires a paranoid approach, because it's not paranoia if that new Borg microwave can sprout tendrils and assimilate the family dog. Sometimes a species focuses down on a particular technology to the point that it basically becomes synonymous with their culture, such as the Tholians and their tractor beam tech. Using Starfleet as the benchmark again, the Tholian ships have developed tractor beams to be incredibly multi-purpose. Starfleet can push things a bit, or pull them, or maybe vibrate stuff with enough fine-tuning. Tholians can spin party animals from their ships' arses. Their ability to manipulate their beams in this way can create lines of energy that are stronger than most shields, and somehow self-sustaining. In Apocrypha they are also described as having an affinity, or at least a curiousness, for space-time manipulation, specifically when it comes to parallel universes, and are always working towards cataloguing and exploring these other realities. Shame then that their oft first reaction upon finding a new reality is to screech at it and violently exterminate anything that comes through. Stop poking at the fabric of the universe if you don't like what you find. Oh, never mind. You do you, you crazy salt lamps. By far the most common observation was that the Ferengi are the best at commerce, and I would say that yes, this is true, despite their reputation to swindle and shortchange others. Thing is, they do have their own commerce authority, the aptly named FCA, to regulate their conduct, but even many of these guidelines concern how to exploit your way to wealth. I would say, purely from observation, that if you are painstakingly patient and already know your way around a contract, then dealing with the Ferengi is okay. Once locked in as a business partner, they will balance your accounts like no one else and work the stonks like a boss. I don't know how any of this actually works. Basically, although the Ferengi are the best at business, their self-interests trump all. Saying that, show a Ferengi a way that their best interests can be served working alongside you, and you have some of the best players in the galaxy at your side. Allowing a Ferengi to dictate all the terms of a contract that you signed is probably going to lead to disaster down the line, however. I guess my point, Ferengi, is that if you are good enough to do business with them, then you're good enough not to need to. Failing that, go to a reputable and vetted Ferengi business that has a reputation to uphold. Jumping to the other side of the galaxy now, we have that monolithic superpower known as the Dominion. While their power structure is questionable, it is based on control even down to the genetics of their soldiers. While certain species, such as the humans and Klingons, have both flirted with genetics in their history, in both these cases they overextended themselves and created unstable augments for one reason or another. The Denobulans are another contender for title of best geneticists, as according to Dr. Phlox, Denobula has practiced genetic engineering for centuries while avoiding a super-powered crisis. This is because they took it slow, understood what they were doing, and seemed to refrain from over-the-top alterations to a genome. The Federation does allow for genetic modification when it comes to severe medical issues, so it's not like the UFP can't get its head around a double helix. They literally choose to avoid it wherever possible. The Dominion, on the other hand, has no such squeamishness. Their extent into genetic research resulted in the forced evolution of the Vorta and the alteration of the Jem'Hadar into the galaxy's most powerful military, one genetically bound to act as slaves. The Jem'Hadar 2, for example, reaches full adulthood in days with no ill effects. As reprehensible as the Dominion's actions are, the level of expertise in genetic modification to even tailor a species into existence not once but multiple times is something we only really hear about from the precursors who created the humanoid template in the Milky Way. The Dominion also practice extensive cloning and seem to be able to not only duplicate a form based on a stored genetic code but endow it with learning and sapience. Their level of genetic tampering is so far beyond even Starfleet that simply replicating the Ketracel white enzyme used to control the Jem'Hadar is impossible in 2371. There is so much going on with the Jem'Hadar genome that I'll probably do a separate video on just that, so please look forward to it. The Krenim were pointed out as masters of time travel, and while this is true, technically it was all undone by the Year of Hell, so their status as the temporal powerhouse they once were remains up in the air. But while we are in the Delta Quadrant, can I just point out the Hirogen? Hunting seems to be the first comment to spring to mind, but looking deeper, the fact that they target and pursue all sorts of crazy prey has led to some intense developments in gear. That armour, that cool blue full-plate suit they wear, that can protect the wearer on the surface of a neutron star. You can sunwalk in that thing. Admittedly, the only source we have for this is a boasting Hirogen, so you know, but if true, that means it has some form of onboard gravity or structural integrity regulator that rivals Starship strength, and it can withstand a heat of 600,000 Kelvin, presumably while the onboard life support systems keep the wearer alive. What is that thing made from? Solid neutronium? And apparently the Breen are decent at environmental life supports. They need to step up their game. And lastly, let's look to the Vidiians. Their medical know-how is incredible, and the technology they developed alongside it amazing. Their devices can surgically remove organs a la transporter device, resequence organs to avoid rejection, and presumably have innumerable chemicals and medicines, all in the name of holding off the ravages of the phage. As of Voyager 2375, it was claimed that the phage had been cured, leaving the Vidiians with a surplus of medical know-how derived from the necessity to survive. The universe always needs more healers, so now they don't have to worry about their own extinction. Perhaps they can share that bounty with others. Last part, I got to work on the USS Optimus NCC Get Good, so now let's see if we can bring the developments we learned here today to the scientifically best ship in the Star Trek galaxy. Don't fact check it. So, first up, let's add to its systems. We need the Romulans to work alongside the Binars in overhauling and upgrading its computer core, but just for safety, let's not let Starfleet get too carried away with it. The Tholians can install some unparalleled tractor beam technology, and the Chief Medical Officer can be a Denobulan, with Dominion and Vidiian-made technology at their disposal. I'll get a Ferengi to look over the manufacturing process of it to make sure we're optimising on its build, and keep them around to have a share in any discoveries the Optimus makes, ensuring a vested interest in its future. Finally, I'd outfit the security teams in Hirogen body armour. This ship would be fantastic if the crew don't turn on one another first. So maybe assimilate them all. No, that's probably a bad idea. Thanks for watching this part 2 of this sci-fi specialties. I've been Rick, and I'll see you next time for another lore theory, game or discussion video. Goodbye.